Hello everyone, welcome to the first episode of IndieCent, which is a pun title we decided on because puns.
Puns are important. I don't think we've decided how to pronounce this yet either.
IndieCent, and I'm going with that because the pun's not quite as obvious, so someone can just wait a moment and go, oh, I see.
That's what they did.
We're just going to go by our online handles here. So, my name's Dark, and the fellow who is talking after me is Lamar, and we also have our friend Elmo with us.
Hello.
I
He's
am
British.
the Skull Dad.
I am British.
And you still need to apologize for Ricky Gervais.
Sorry.
Are you offended?
Are you triggered?
Jesus Christ. He's so
Anyways.
predictable. Anyway.
Oh, we were off to a great start here. This little podcast of ours is going to be for discussing various indie games we've found over the years. The weird stuff, the interesting stuff, the just plain fun stuff. And eventually I'm going to get to the bad stuff and make everyone play DNA Gender Bender Twister Extreme when I find it on sale.
Never.
Oh, God.
but that's neither here nor there.
Do you know
Today
what you toy with?
Before we talk about our topic of the episode, Masochisia, which is my choice and quite possibly one of the darkest games I've ever played, and I'm sure you two have ever played at this point.
I was honestly surprised. I kind of went in knowing it was going to be a horror game, and while there are certain... I mean, we'll get to that in a little bit, but while there were certain gripes I had, overall I was like, wow, this actually delivered a lot more than I was expecting.
It was like Undertale.
There we go. It's all the not expecting. That is why this podcast will have a spoiler section towards the end.
Yeah, we'll always have that for narrative games because you just don't want to spoil it.
Mm-hmm. And this one definitely has some twists and turns, not just in the main plot, but in the game itself.
I'm also going to have to give trigger warnings for this one for discussions of child abuse, implied sexual abuse, pedophilia, oh god, I don't even know, cannibalism, and so forth.
It comes on the game. It's on the actual store page. It's on the game where it's like when you start, there's just a thing right there that says, "Hey, if you happen to get this far and didn't check this yet, this is going to be dealing with some very sensitive subject matter. So if you are affected by that or sensitive to that, please do not play this."
So
yeah,
all in all, a really upbeat, happy, fun game.
Yep, it was a
we
great
all had
time.
a really great time. I've
Maybe
started
the real-
writing fan fiction about it. It's wonderful.
Maybe the real Masochisia was the friends we made along the way.
Honestly, this is probably my favorite game of the year, tied with VA11 Hall A, which you should all play because it has a big boss dog that talks about how every dog's entitled to their own ball.
That's amazing. I know there's also a brain in a jar apparently in that game.
Yes, Taylor. Taylor is wonderful.
Nice. That game has definitely been blowing up my Twitter timeline recently. A lot of people have really been enjoying it so far.
Anyways, let's actually introduce who we are first so people have an idea of where we come from when we talk about these games. So I'll let Lamar start.
I'm the video game guy who defeated video games atop the highest mountain, and also, yeah. I don't know.
Well, I mean, like, what's some of your favorites, genres you like, stuff like that?
I do like horror games, so this was a good one. Some favorites include, like, Persona 4, Chrono Trigger. I really did like Undertale. That one's quickly become a favorite of a lot of people. I like stuff that can throw a twist. I usually don't go for kind of, like... I kind of like to find little diamonds in the rough. 999's another personal favorite because that's on my mind because I just finished the Escape series. Oh my god, it goes places. But yeah, I like things that are interesting. I'm willing to overlook a few flaws in some things as long as it's like what the game is going for delivers, I suppose.
You also have a music background, right?
Yep. I've been in a band previously, which is no longer together. I'm currently working on an album, which I guess I'll plug later. But and have some other stuff. Please check me out on www.twitter.com/@LamarTheFrog//
Follow, like, subscribe, retweet, reblog. Elmo, what about you?
Oh, I'm trying to think of how to describe myself now, and all I can think of is kind of like Lamar, except British. So,
Nice.
like,
Oh, come on, I've been following you on Screw Attack for years.
yeah,
There's a lot more to say.
I wholeheartedly embrace that I am a very TLDR person. I used to write quite a lot on Screw Attack, slowed down a bit, but looking to get back into it. Don't read anything I write unless you have about half an hour spare.
Oh my.
Because that should be just enough to get you past the intro. And
Yeah, your writing is like longer than me writing about a weird mobile game I found where you make cute anime boys wear dresses, and that went on for 2,500 words.
Jesus.
2,500?
Yes.
That's just...
Child's play.
Yeah. I don't want to do like a cheap plug, but the one thing that I'm semi-proud of and looking to bring back is I used to do this series like Game Wars, where you take two games that are sort of similar but not really, and compare them. And I just thought I'd bring that up because the first one had Chrono Trigger in it, and Chrono Trigger won. So, you know, Lamar, you gotta...
There we go.
There we go. That's very quality series.
It is a beautiful
what's
game.
some of your background and some of your favorites?
Oh, jeez. My favourites are all, like... they're kind of cliche. Shadow of the Colossus, Earthbound, which I loved so much that it got defeated by Chrono Trigger.
Oh my.
Yeah. I'm kind of hard on my favourite games. But yeah, some of the lesser known ones, I guess. Hotel Dusk, Loco Roco. They're not lesser known.
Loco Roco
No,
might
they
be.
kind of are. I mean, Hotel Dusk was great, but it also sold like nothing.
Oh.
Yeah, that was one you kind of saw around, but maybe not so much people actually playing a lot of the time, which is a shame.
Yeah. And you got the sequel that was only released in Europe, you lucky dog.
Oh, I did.
The rare case where something is only released in Europe.
Yeah. I used to have a big list of all these games that weren't released in Europe, so that for situations like this, I could just bring it up and say, well, we didn't get iNinja on the GameCube. we had to wait like an extra 5 months for Brawl for no reason.
It was funny that I mentioned Zero Escape because for Virtue's Last Reward, when that came out in the UK and Europe, they only had the English dub, not the Japanese one. So I'm going through like, man, I'm really glad I'm playing the Japanese one, and everyone just comments on my tweet, and they're just like, that must be nice.
It's fun to troll Persona European fans.
See, I didn't even know.
Anyways, I guess I'll go to myself. I'm Dark, and I have been writing on the internet for years because I just like doing it. I've started with Sega Genesis my uncle gave me. My favorite game on it was Sonic the Hedgehog because I'm predictable and I will defend Sonic till the end. Don't even start with me on Sonic Heroes.
I have mixed feelings on that game.
I will give you that the last Chaos Emerald mission is the worst thing imaginable.
I have straightforward feelings on Sonic Heroes, which I will leave unsaid.
Anyways, some of my favorite games include The Stanley Parable, Persona 4, The World Ends With You, Undertale, which was a recent favorite as well, but that's understandable because, I mean, if you've played it, you get it. So, yes, I like pretentious, symbolic garbage.
It is
like,
so crazy how fast that game blew up so quickly.
I can also throw in Actual Sunlight, Always Sometimes Monsters, but I also like stuff like Rayman Origins, Kirby's Epic Yarn, Sonic Heroes.
There it is.
So I like fun games too, but I also like pretentious narrative garbage.
I despise fun. That's a lie. But
I also like about the only super hard games I like are stuff like God Hand and Devil May Cry 3 because they know how to hurt me just right.
Jump back to mine and put Dark Souls on the favorites list. I forgot about that.
Oh God.
I am now remembering.
Yeah.
How is Masochisia like Dark Souls?
Masochisia is the Dark Souls of narrative-based video games because hexadecimal, I guess.
Anyways, I would say the game that most inspired me in my life is The World Ends With You, because it's like the first one that got me thinking about communication and how people view the world, and was the first thing that actually got me thinking outside of my normal worldview.
Nice.
So, yeah, so I like playing games that challenge my worldview or show me something I haven't considered before, or just call me scum, make me do something terrible and call me garbage, which is why I like Drakengard, even though by all accounts it is terrible.
You enjoy the killing snake.
You could have stopped at any time.
You could have just turned the game off. Read a book.
Get dunked on.
There it is.
Oh, and I also want to say, go play Pony Island, because it's like Undertale, except hilarious.
For that one, I've got the unfortunate thing where, because the Steam page spoiled it, I'm less inclined to check it out.
Oh, no, it didn't spoil it, because the actual
sure?
spoiler is that it's not serious in the slightest. It's
Okay.
the dumbest thing imaginable. Like, Satan's password is ponies.
Oh my god.
It's just such... You killed Jesus!
Oh my lord.
It's such a great game. Anyways,
Speaking of killing things,
yes, today's game is something I found when I was looking for interesting games on Steam to review for, write about for Hardcore Gaming 101, which you can write under my real name, so shh, I won't tell you who it is.
like, comment, subscribe.
But anyways, I saw this game and it struck me because of its weird art style, its weird title, the fact it was a horror game that didn't look like absolute garbage, which is very rare for Steam.
Absolutely.
So and plus it was like apparently a point and click, so I was like, yeah, okay, I'll try this. So I bought it, I pitched it to my editor, he thought it looked interesting too, so he let me do it. He never actually knows anything about the games I pitch to him besides what I say, and I've almost never played them whenever I pitch them, so... Boy, oh boy, was I in the surprise for this one.
Yikes.
The article I wrote for this one isn't up yet, but I had to put in a content warning, which I'm sure is going to get a lot of bitching in the forum thread eventually, like when I had to do it for actual Sunlight, and there was the usual trigger warnings, even though I didn't say trigger warning. I'm like, just...
Some stuff has sensitive topics. Maybe,
Oh my God,
maybe things that you shouldn't casually view at work or just sitting around.
Yeah, and I would say they're the ones who were triggered.
Damn.
Ooh.
Are you offended yet, Ricky Gervais?
I'm offended. Let us move on to the game.
Anyways, yes, this game was made by a single person as far as I can tell, or at least he did most of the work, John Oldblood. He seems like just some random white guy with a very nice beard and glasses who just wanted to make games he wanted to make, so he made this, and that makes me question a lot about him.
I wouldn't worry too much.
Yeah, I mean, like, Stephen King has wrote about prepubescent gangbangs, and he turned out okay.
Pause.
Anyways, this game, Masochisia, you play as a young boy named, I believe it was Hamilton.
Yep.
And you're introduced. You're looking for something in a shed when you start, and apparently a voice is talking to you, and you're not sure who it is, though. Considering what type of game this is, it's safe to assume you're going crazy. And then you step outside the shed, and suddenly a weird gray man appears out of nowhere. The sky goes red, and things get weird, and then you know you're in for a bad time.
A very, very bad time.
And as you go to your house, there's a weird kid standing in back who won't tell you his name, and you get the weird vibes that all of your family is terrible. Your mom seems emotionally abusive. Your brother is
very distant as well.
Yeah, and your brother's in in a what do they call it?
Padded cell?
He's got a straitjacket, and then he's got he's got a padded cell and like the I forget what it's called, but the mask so you don't bite people.
The Hannibal Benton Lecter mask.
Yeah, that one.
So yeah, that's worrying. But apparently, all the dialogue says he hurts himself, and then you eventually meet your dad, who is
The worst person
physically
ever.
abusive, and yeah. And then you talk to that little boy and that boy in the backyard again, and the adventure starts as he points you in the direction of someone you need to see. And this is where we have to stop talking about the story. We'll get into that in spoilers, and we'll just try to talk about generalities for this one.
Mm-hmm.
But let me just say right now, I love this game. I adore it. It's one of the best written games I've played in a very long time.
My general thoughts for it, I really was surprised how much I ended up liking this game. Also, I think the gain on my mic went up, so now I'm feet away from it. But I was definitely surprised to see how this game turned out, because at first I kind of thought I was guessing the cues where it was going and everything, and in a lot of ways I was right, but it throws a lot of curveballs through, and weirdly, when it comes to some gripes, I have a few, like, jump scares I felt were a little cheap and things like that, but those aren't the scenes that end up sticking with me. There's certain stuff, particularly late in the game, that I'm, like, days after finishing it, still occasionally thinking about and being like, Jesus, they did a very good job with that in terms of how affecting a lot of the stuff is. It's really good at, like, a thing that I think will pass over a lot of people's head is the sound design for it. Because there's certain stuff that's just like it's really delicately paced, both in terms of the music and how it fades in and out as you go through different sections and different mental states, and also just certain sound effects, in particular spoilery scenes, hit really, really hard.
I do have to agree that a lot of the jump scares it throws out are weak, but there aren't many of them. But
Yep.
when they do show up, like there's one that pops up when you pass a certain area late in the game, and every time it happened, I was just like, come on, really?
Yeah, that I was thinking of the same one, actually, where the actual thing that had happened before as to why you see the jump scare had really, really got me, but seeing that was like, I think that's, I think the positive aspects of it definitely weigh out, though, because this is a game that's still, like, I keep thinking about, I'm pretty jaded when it comes to a lot of horror stuff, but this one I'm like, this one got me. I like it. It's good.
Hey, Elmo, this kind of looks sort of like a Monty Python cartoon, except messed up, right?
Yeah, very messed up. I'm doing detective work and I'm trying to piece together which part of the game Lamar's talking about, and I'm pretty sure it's the same part that freaked me out. So
I
feel
think
happy
it's the
for
same
that.
part that freaked all of us out.
Yeah,
This is so hard to avoid spoilers.
yeah.
But, anyways, yeah, like the style of this game is like sort of like Monty Python stop motion mixed with a lot of static and artificial monitor filterings and like really beautiful landscapes. It's sort of like if you mix Monty Python, Tim Burton, and like I can't put my finger on
almost
it.
sort of like old Norman Rockwell paintings in a way.
Yeah, except much more what?
Yeah, it's got this really distorted kind of thing to it. Shoot, there's something I was going to say.
There's a lot of dead, empty eyes.
Absolutely. One thing I was actually really impressed with the visuals for it was with the character animations, the tweening on it. I'm usually a bit of a stickler when it comes to tweened animation for things in which each separate limb or like body part is kind of like animated and tilted separately. For here, it's got almost like this puppet show kind of style to it, which works really, really well and is a lot more dynamic than I was expecting.
And that definitely has payoff in that one scene.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's also interesting because I actually want to bring this up. There's a lot of symbolism in this game and why a lot of it's easy to place. Some of it seems very obtuse and strange, like this being you meet called the Guardian, who's like a bear with antlers.
Mm-hmm.
I kept looking up what that was, and I never found an answer. So eventually, I just asked the guy on Twitter, and he just said, "I don't know. I just kind of happened when I was making it."
Yeah, that was one that I didn't think much of, but with other details in it, I did do some digging, and I will credit a YouTube video later when we get into spoilers, but for once, I was surprised to see that the based on a true story tag actually wasn't total bullshit.
Yeah, let's not go too far into that yet.
Yeah, exactly. I will say, it is based on a true story, and actually based on a true story. Not in that the events of the game are exactly how it happened, because of course not, but it is influenced by some events.
Yeah, it was something that I felt sort of disappointed by and even kind of laughed at early on was the dialogue choices, because they were either very human reactions or sex pervert reactions.
Yeah, there came a
hit
point.
me door, daddy.
Yeah, there came a lot of points where early on a lot of them were just a lot of the early reactions were kind of very natural responses to things like an unsure or like are you sure that's a good idea and everything, but then eventually you get into things where it's like, do you say I'm sorry, I can't believe what I've done, or fuck you bitch, goddamn.
Yeah, but I think there is a reason for that, but we have to wait till spoilers, obviously. But
this is a fun episode for that.
that ends up being a really clever use of the dialogue system and comments on something that I don't see many games comment on. So
yep. One that I definitely liked, and I don't think this is something that really counts as spoiler, but certain dialogue choices actually will go like gray, as in you can't pick them and everything. Like if you've played Depression Quest or certain RPGs, it like gets rid of certain choices as you go through in the same kind of way.
I think Toby Fox's Halloween hack did something similar. The game where the final boss goes, "Too long didn't read, faggot."
Oh my.
Wow.
To be fair, it's a very good hack until you reach the final boss and it goes full 14-year-old.
Yeah, I've noticed that he I find it really funny when Toby just goes, guys, can we not? Alright.
It's kind of amazing. One of the best pieces of music he ever made came from that game.
It's true. I also can't believe that he made the Homestuck MPreg rock opera.
What?
You go onto YouTube and look up The Baby Is You after this.
Oh, God.
I'm not kidding.
Anyways,
for moving on from truly horrifying things back to Masochisia.
Let Elmo talk.
Yeah, no problem.
British person has to talk because he used to rule the world, so he's the most important person here.
Oh, thank you. I choose to believe that there was no sarcasm in that. It was just, oh wow, thanks, I rule the world. Yay.
So how's the Prime Minister working out?
So this game, right? Masochisia. It's, I really want to play like devil's advocate and say, oh, I didn't think it was that good, but I can't because I liked it. So, yeah,
try
it was
anyway.
really just haunting and unsettling, and it's always kind of difficult to try and describe a game positively when there wasn't much in it that I would describe as fun. But if there was a game about like child abuse, and it was like, oh, you should play this game, it's about child abuse, it's a laugh. It's brilliant. Then that wouldn't work either. So
there you go.
For what it is, I think it hits its goals pretty well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think this is the type of game a lot of people would hunt out to play.
Yeah.
Even like people who play stuff like Actual Sunlight and Always Sometimes Monsters, the first which is about depression, and the later which is about the hellscape that is the American late capitalism ecosystem. Yeah, so like, even pretentious people like me, if they knew what this game was, wouldn't probably go play it, but I didn't know, so here we are.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's kind of a hard sell, because it's one of those things where it's like, this game isn't just depressing and it isn't just scary. It hits on some really, really tough ground that is definitely very groundbreaking in a way. I don't think I've ever actually played a game like this before and everything. And while I can put up some complaints with certain scares it does and everything, I think for the most part, the general design, writing, and the way it's kind of all put together, like, hits all the check marks and everything. Like, early on, I was kind of unsure where it was going and unsure how I felt with it, but when it kind of loops back around on itself and comes full circle, it really is something to see.
And hey, while it is very disturbing, it's only 2 hours, so what do you gotta lose?
There you go.
I'm trying to. Oh yeah, I wanted to say that I love the distortion effects in your vision as your mental state changes. Like the first major time it happens after the gray man is in your house, something happens, and then you wake up and everything is red and there's glaring music and the voice in your head is just going like, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, "No,
No, I'm very not.
it was the most terrifying fucking thing."
Yeah, the one visual effect I'm not a fan of, though, and granted I'm not a fan of this in just about any game, is the RGB splitting effect.
Yeah, could you remind me what that is? I'm not a nerd.
That's sort of when they're the screen will be like shaking and there's like the computerized color. It's like the camera shifting thing.
Oh yeah,
It'll be
I
like
know what
white
you're
text
talking
kind of
about.
has like the red, green, and blue. I'm not really a fan of that, but that is a nitpicking gripe right there.
Yeah, so I think at this point we should just get into spoilers, because...
Alrighty then.
Whoa, boy. Okay, let's just get this out of the way now.
You
This
chop up
game
a
is-
kid!
This game is
You
Silly or
just chop
Family
him up.
Simulator 2016, 2015? Whichever year
This
it is.
game is based off an actual person.
Yep.
If you... On the title screen of the game, there's a lot of weird stuff and numbers and shapes that don't seem to make sense, but it's actually hexadecimal code, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yep, hexadecimal.
Yeah, and if you decode it and then Google the information it gives, you'll come across the Wikipedia page for a man named Hamilton Howard Albert Fish, one of
Yep.
the most infamous serial killers who ever lived.
Yep, and also other things in this game also point to that as well. I'm going to credit right now. There is a YouTube video from the channel. The person's name is Sky Larkin, which goes over a lot of this. It's a very
think I
good one.
saw
I
that same
absolutely
one.
need to give credit to this because it only has 529 views and it absolutely deserves more. But all of the names for Hamilton Howard Fish show up in the game. Albert, who's the boy who first brings you... I guess we should get general plot out of the way. You meet the boy in the backyard who tells you to meet an angel named Michael in a
that's
shrine, who starts sort of trying to egg Hamilton on to kill different people and attack them and hurt them
And
and
he's
everything.
very obviously the devil.
Yep. And he's saying it's like this is your fate, this is the word of God and everything. There's also certain jumps to a therapist's office in which you're kind of like recounting your feelings on the game and jumping around and you're not really sure
And
what's
the
going on.
therapist is very clearly supposed to be the gray man.
Yep. It is like the exact outline and everything.
Yeah, so you're wondering, what's the point of the gray man?
And then you realize that Hamilton Fish, one of the names he went by, well, one of the alternate names for him was the Gray Man.
Yeah, I actually marked this down. The Gray Man's referenced most heavily. There's also a scene with a werewolf
Yep.
that seems to be forgotten about as soon as it happens, but it's actually hinting at another nickname of his, the Werewolf of Wisteria. He was also apparently called the Boogeyman, but I don't think that's referenced. I just wanted to bring it up.
Yep. One other one is when you first run into Billy, who is the boy that gets chopped up by the protagonist later in the game. You can actually give him a fake name when you talk to him. Like you go up to him and say, "Hi, I'm Frank Howard," which is a pseudonym that the original killer went by. There's an item in the game which is needles, where when his mental state getting out of hand, in which he will cut himself. Once again, definitely warrants a trigger warning with this game, but will cut himself with the needle to kind of like ease himself and everything with it, and have like that rush of pain and everything, which is something that the actual person did do. So.
Oh yeah, he was a big sadomasochist. Like, from an early age, he was into a lot of heavy shit and literal shit. And apparently this eventually led him to cutting off his homosexual lover's dick at one point.
Jesus.
Yeah, and according... He might have been a pedophile, we're not sure, but he definitely murdered and ate children, that's obvious enough.
Yep. There's a character in the game whose name is Grace. She appears with the angel, and she's represented as a girl with no face. She was actually the first victim that he ended up eating.
Oh, she was the last victim.
Oh, okay, I heard differently.
Yeah, she was in the game. She's considered the
okay.
end, and
Oh wait, okay, I meant
Gra-
in the original. Never mind. I got you.
I think you're thinking of Billy.
Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, Billy's the first victim, and Grace is called the end because she's the last victim. Apparently,
Right, she was the
or
one
last,
who got him caught.
Yeah, the last known one that got Albert caught.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, he said he's had hundreds of children across the country, but it's not sure if he meant murder or eating them. It's unknown.
No, it's pretty terrible.
Yeah, so yeah, this is a really fun game. 10 out of 10. IGN.
10 out of 10 IGN, too much water.
This game is not a strict retelling of his life. In fact, it doesn't seem to be interested in exploring the man himself or why he did what he did.
Which is very much a positive towards the game, because I don't think that that's ground... While I can definitely say that would be daring ground to cover, it might not fare too well in execution. So I think it was much smarter to kind of base the story on here to see the declining mental health and stability rather than sort of a strict retelling, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could have very easily been an exploitive piece of trash, but it goes in a different direction where it's like sort of like Spec Ops or Undertale or other games that call you a god-awful human being, and tries to pokes and prod the player and get them thinking about what they're doing.
Yeah, early on in the game, I was actually getting a little bit nervous with where it was going with it, because mainly in its portrayal of mental illness, I was like, oh no, is this going to be very like stigmatizing, sort of a negative portrayal of that, which I mean, that argument is definitely there and everything, but I think what it does with it is definitely something that's valuable. It doesn't feel like it's trying to capitalize on this or portray mental illness and like in of itself as a negative way. I think it's kind of trying to examine a very damaged psyche and sort of make the player reflect on these violent events and these violent attacks and sort of see a declining state, because there's a lot of stuff that kind of keys in and muddies things up with this horrible, terrible person.
Elmo, you've been really quiet, I've noticed.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Go ahead, share your thoughts.
I always feel kind of scared that I'm reading too much into things and that I'm just going to sound pretentious, but the only...
Oh, trust me, you're not. You're around here, they're doing just fine.
Oh, hooray. It was something, and it was something about Spec Ops. No, it was not about Spec Ops. It was about... Oh, Jesus, what was it? I liked how there was a link. I'll just leave it at that. No, I liked how there was a link between the game making you do incredibly terrible things, and I was thinking, oh man, I mean, obviously it's a game, I bought it, I want to play it and finish and see it through to the end, but this is just really unsettling and weird and almost painful. Like, why am I doing this weird, painful thing? And then I remembered, oh, isn't, like, masochism, like, a really big theme here? And that's probably... I don't know, that it does feel like I'm reading too much into it, but if it was intentional...
I definitely see what you're talking about.
Yeah, if that was intentional, it's really good, and if it wasn't, let's just pretend that it was.
Yeah, it has a lot of the... we mentioned Undertale and jokingly Metal Gear Solid earlier, but it definitely does have a lot of the sort of prodding the player, as in, like, why are you partaking in this? You are actively taking part of this when you really don't have to and everything. Yes, I'm aware you spent X many dollars on this game, but this is not fun stuff and everything, and I think it definitely wants the player to reflect on it.
Yeah, like...
Because I definitely think it's not just, haha, you did all these horrible things, you're a bad person. I think it's looking on a lot more subtle ground than that.
Which is why I really like those ridiculous dialogue choices from earlier, because it's basically mimicking what lesser games would do with this sort of subject matter. Like how all popular moral choices in video games are either save the school children in the bus or dump them in a pool of lava and laugh maniacally, that sort of thing. So it's just like giving the very expected binary, and then as the game goes on, it starts questioning you. it seems more interested in questioning why you're doing what you think the game expects you to do instead of what you want to do.
Mhm.
Like, for me, I ended up killing the father because fuck that guy, but I didn't kill anyone else that I didn't have a choice in killing. I mean, that I had a choice in killing.
Mhm.
Because I honestly don't think they deserved it, despite how terrible they were. But, like, the father kept coming back and it wanted me to justify this decision. And
That
it
was
wanted me...
Sorry to cut you off. That was actually a really tough one after killing the father, because right after that it lands you in one of the therapy sessions, and you're being asked about it, and you're kind of... If you just... I'm not sure if it's something you absolutely have to do in the game, if it's like required to advance, but with killing the father, the therapist like asks you, it's like, well, why did you do it? And you say, it's like, well, he was a bad person, he abused my family and everything. It's like, but was what you did okay? It's like, well, I guess not, but also it's like, but I had to do what I had to do. It's like, but did you?
I also remember that they seemed to be setting it up so that the father dies anyways without without you actually killing him, which could have led into the therapy scene if for any of us who didn't kill him, but I suspect we all did because fuck that guy.
It's definitely a thing I thought was like expected when playing through and all that. It was definitely like, once again, that scene after it happens, because there's a very long fade to black after the father is actually killed, where it's like you're very clearly like left thinking about what has just happened and what is going on. And also, this is a point where the visuals of the game really stand out. There's a lot of I don't want to say fantastical, because that gives a bad sort of representation, but very unreal images going on, like the house on fire or the paintings on the wall appearing differently and everything. And it's really impressive looking scene. But it's tough, because after you do this horrible thing, which you felt justified in doing, you then are tasked with trying to justify it, and it's not something that's very easy to do. I definitely think it's trying. I definitely think it's trying to comment on that violence in those acts and trying to be like, well, yes, this thing did happen and you did do this, but why is this happening? And is this something that you really feel comfortable with, or was it kind of like a flash in the pan moment of instability, I guess?
I noticed that the game seems to build a story around the father that makes him sort of understandable, if not sympathetic. He wanted a proper child, but he never got it, and he's become... And he seems to be suffering from alcoholism and possibly his own mental illness. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure.
I think they mentioned that the mental illness ran in the family, like it was a hereditary kind of thing. Because
oh yeah, and you had to take medicine.
Yeah, the two sons definitely have it, and that's a very vague description. There's definitely... It's not a neurotypical family, I suppose is the best way to put it.
It doesn't really absolve him of his sins, but like, it's like leaving a way for you to not kill him by showing him that yes, this person is terrible, but he's human. Mm-hmm. But because at this point in the game, it's just the bad things are just starting. You figured, oh, I guess I must have to kill this guy to continue playing the game, because most moral choices in games don't actually lead to different outcomes or different outcomes of particular meaning. So you figured, I guess this is something that just has to happen, and then the game keeps reminding you of it and asking you why you did it. Because like, you can't avoid some of the terrible things you do in this game, but you can avoid some of them, and your first time playing, you're not sure what's what.
I feel very stupid now, because I didn't even realize it was possible to not kill him. It just seemed really straightforward. It's like the thing to do. He was
I didn't...
Sort of?
It was a kind of... Yeah, it was the kind of thing where I was like, is there some alternate way to do it? I'm not sure.
Oh, I just went ahead and did it because fuck that guy. But then the game kept poking and prodding me, and I realized, wait, why did I do that? Mm-hmm. And I realized it was because that's what I thought the game expected me to do, and I wasn't actually playing as I want to play the game, but as I was expected to play the game.
Yep, which ties into what they pull at the end, where it's like, where they point out you're never really in control of this experience to begin with.
Yeah, like, you're either in control or not in control, and you're never sure when is what. It's, like, partly trying to explain mental illness to an audience through this play, but also trying to comment on the absurd nature of video games, and also the absurd nature of life, I think. Like, how we think, how we act, what are we influenced by, making us think about that sort of thing in our actions, and why we do what we do.
Yep.
Which is really impressive for a game like this, because I can't really think of... Like, I really like Undertale, I like Spec Ops, I like Drakengard and Nier and all that, but I don't think any of them have ever done it quite this intelligently. Like, Nier and Drakengard get the most emotional response. Undertale is the most easy to understand, because it's just like, you're a piece of garbage, fuck you, get dunked on.
I mean, with Undertale, there's also enough stuff baked into the mechanics as well, where non-violence is a viable option, though.
Yeah, and it's also trying to tell you through the mechanics, no, you don't want to do the genocide option, you damn idiot.
You really don't. It's definitely a kind of thing where a thing I ask with a lot of narrative-based games, which I'm sure a lot of people do with certain stuff. I hate. I should point out, I'm a person who hates terms like walking simulator and shit like that, but there's certain games that fall into that category that I'm not really a fan of, like, say, Dear Esther, for example. But the one big thing I always kind of ask when it gets to like a very short narrative-focused game like this is, what does this game gain from being interactive? And with Masochisia, it definitely makes you, the player, have to think about the things that are taking place in this story. With it's weird, because I had an unrelated conversation with someone about this game after playing it, where we were kind of comparing horror movies and horror games. And one big thing was, I mentioned with horror movies, it's kind of easier to like detach. Well, for me personally, anyway. This isn't the same for everyone. This is going to vary from person to person. But it's kind of easy to detach from what's happening on screen and have kind of set up a cognitive distance from what's going on.
Yeah, you just want to see the teenagers die because they boned.
Because they're being stupid. But meanwhile, here, every sort of thing advancing the plot to advance the story that you feel like you should be doing because you feel like the game wants you to, is you really have to think about it. What, like, for example, the scene where Hamilton cuts up Billy and everything, which is the one I was talking about earlier with the horrifying sound
that
design.
fucking scene.
It's like every single one I had to like pause, because you basically have to click each time and dismember slightly more.
Yeah, I just tried to get through it as fast as possible and looked away most of the time.
Yeah, for every single one, it's like, I don't want to do this, and it's like it's such a well done scene despite being so fucked up, because every time they do it, you don't really see any of like the horrific gory bits and everything.
The mutilation sounds.
Yeah, the sounds end up doing a lot
and then at the end of it, he's dangling like a fucking puppet, surrounded by incredibly loud gears as your inside voice is complimenting you and giving you instructions.
Yeah, that was definitely the I'm not sure what to call it, the climax, most fucked up part of the game. And I think that's the moment where I kind of had the 180. Well, not the 180, but the moment where I'm like, okay, what this game is doing, I really, really appreciate.
That's gonna stay with me for a long time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what did you
then
do lately in the game?
Then the jump scares afterwards, where you see his body jump up when you're trying to just walk down the fucking street. It's like, okay, please don't do that. But
you killed me. Yes, I know. Please go away now.
I get it. I was already thinking about it. I don't need you jumping in front of me. Walking places.
Something interesting I noticed with the use of Grace is that she's presented as a calming figure despite knowing the history of what happens.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's because she represents the end of the game for the player, because now we don't have to do these horrible things anymore to keep playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, representing the end of the real person who was very clearly unsound of mind,
mm-hmm.
and probably somewhere deep down didn't want to like exist the way they did. I guess if that makes sense.
It's definitely hard to tell. With the court case for the actual killer, what they had determined was they did legally declare him as insane. I get nitpicky on this, but insanity is a legal term, not a medical one. So they did legally determine that he was insane and not in control of what he was doing and was not in a well state of mind and doing these things.
He cut off a man's dick and 8 children.
Yeah, seriously. But they did also still deem that he was unsafe to keep alive, which is definitely a scary thing, even though he's a person who was a horrible person and did horrible things.
Yeah, I don't think horrible begins to describe it.
Yeah, honestly. It was just... See, I didn't know about any of this while playing the game, and then looking it up afterwards, I just went, well, that makes it even worse.
If I wasn't reading too much into it before, then I definitely am now. But I'm remembering right after you kill the father, which apparently you don't have to, but I guess we're just all horrible people. Then you
I don't know. I'd kind of be curious to look that up. The
shadows were the good people, and you were the asshole.
I feel like that might be another one of the not in control moments where you have to advance, but I'm not sure.
You can avoid killing the father.
Oh, okay. Then I guess we're all just horrible.
I'm gonna need to look up how, like, right after, even though I'm probably not gonna play it again.
It's just bit dialogue choices. I ended up picking all the angriest ones.
I picked all the calmest ones, and I
picked the sensible, angry ones. Oh. But sorry, I cut you off.
Right. Oh, it's okay. I'll forget where I'm going all the time anyway. Oh right. After you kill him, you go into the attic, and Grace is there. And Grace, I don't think she has any dialogue because she doesn't have a face, which can get in the way of
mind beams.
Yeah.
You just get like ideas of how she's feeling or how she's making you feel from inner narration.
Well, I'm just remembering that right after you kill your father, I went into the attic, and if you say something to her, like, I can't even remember what the dialogue is, but all I remember is that she sends some kind of positive feeling your way, and you feel better. And for some weird reason, that kind of relieved me when I was playing, even though that makes no difference to the fact that I've just killed someone. Then the fact that my character, they feel better. And I was, oh, well, everything's okay.
I actually kind of felt the same. Like, she was supposed to be calming for the character, but I think she's also supposed to be calming for the player. Like, she's presented differently from all the other characters. She's a very pure, innocent character in this entire game. She doesn't react to things the same way everyone else does. So as it goes on, you just sort of relate to her as a form of hope, which she ends up becoming because she helps give you a way out at the end.
Yeah, she's definitely one thing in the game that stays constant and generally stays positive as well. Because while one that was it's kind of a subtle thing, but one really early on that got me a lot was conversations between Hamilton and the mother, where she very much switches between I love you so much, please don't ever leave, and you are the worst piece of shit human ever, I hate you, your disappointment is a son.
Too long didn't read, faggot.
Just like sometimes in like the same sentence and everything and stuff like that. So when you have Grace, who's kind of like the one positive sort of thing and everything, it is weirdly calming when she shows up, because it's the one thing in this game that's not horrifically fucked up, even if it is a little fucked up.
Yeah, she's a little weird, and I notice she does react in fear sometimes. It mentions it, but it's understandable, and like it's just kind of clever. And I actually kind of like this because it means the game isn't pulling a Spec Ops or a Dragon Guard or a Nier or an Undertale and just calling you a piece of garbage the entire time. It's like, you could have turned off the game any time. The shadows were the good guys and you were the asshole, and so forth. Or getting all the 5 endings and just finding out they're all worse than the last one. Yeah, it doesn't do that. It wants you to do. It tries to do the same things as those games and make you reflect on what you're doing, but it also understands that you're playing a game and you're expecting a certain experience, and I think that's why Grace is here.
Yeah,
Like, just kind of there to remind you, don't worry, it's just a game.
Yeah, what I think is good about the way Masochisia handles it is it's definitely pulling a similar thing to like Undertale, Drakengard, or other games with sort of the moral dilemma towards the player, like Spec Ops and everything. But I don't feel like it's doing it for the same reason.
Yeah,
Where
like
with
it
like
does.
Spec Ops does it as a big commentary on modern military shooters. Undertale does it to kind of de-incentivize violence and see the outcomes of it. And for here, I think it's more so making the player reflect on that violence than it is to make them. They make you do these horrible things. So I don't think this game is like telling you to go out and fucking stab somebody, but I think it wants you to think about what this violence means and what sort of just like how we put things in our head to make sense of all of it.
Oh my god, I just realized it has more thematically in common with No More Heroes than anything else we've mentioned.
Oh my god.
No, seriously, that game, a lot of it is about how we consume violence in media and how dangerous it can be that we don't think about that violence. Like, remember MC Prophet did a fantastic series of videos on it that really explained it well until he got to Henry and had no idea what to make of that. Yeah, but like I think my favorite part is when he pointed out at the end of the Bad Girl fight, it's portrayed completely different from all the others. When you finally kill her, there's this really violent, but not overblown scene, more like realistically violent, and it's just uncomfortable to watch and ends with a girl stabbed by your sword, which is a phallic object, bleeding out over you, and it's basically a game going, do you really like looking at this?
It's like, is this enjoyable to you?
Are you
I
not
think
that's
entertained?
Are you not entertained?
And then then No More Heroes 2, there's constant erection jokes because that game is dumb.
I definitely do think Masochisia and the other games, though. I think looking at game violence in that kind of way is definitely a valuable thing to be exploring, because, I mean, I'm going to assume none of us are the video games are destroying our children and burning our crops because someone got stabbed in a video game kind of thing. But at the same time, when there's so much violent content and everything, you kind of want to see, like, okay, maybe we can have a thing where we question, maybe it's bad to partake in this, or why would someone want to partake in this, or what are the actual costs of partaking in this on both the aggressor and the person who is aggressed upon.
Yeah, and like with the current landscape since like 2014 in the gaming world right now, like games like Masochisia are kind of important because they're the only games that are actually looking at what this medium is saying, even when it doesn't mean to say it, and kind of questioning it and wanting us to question it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Masochisia is a game that someone could very easily either misinterpret or kind of take at face value and be like, this game is just exploitatively indulging in these horrifying things and all that. But I think it definitely expects the player to kind of look a little bit more into it. Well, maybe not even expects the player to, but sort of wants the player to think more about it and why it's being partaken in. That's why I brought up the
Or you can be the average. Oh, sorry. Or you can be the average Steam user and complain that the ending just sort of stopped and it's not objectively good, or make a joke about becoming a serial killer.
This game is 2 hours. Steam refund.
Yeah, where's all the content? I wasn't even bored for 50 hours straight.
But yeah, I definitely think it gains a lot. I definitely think
Where's the
Masochisia.
vagina bone?
Oh my god. But
this
anyway,
game took out the titties in the American release.
Why
Gaming is dead.
Why doesn't Masochisia have a blood slider and a boob slider? Come on, game designers, get your shit together. But I definitely think it gains a lot in making the player have to do these horrible things because it makes you reflect on it. I don't think every game does that as well. I've seen some that do that very, very lazily. I think this game is a lot smarter about it, though.
I also want to bring up that it sort of reminded me of the Stanley Parable on retrospect, because they deal with similar ideas of choice and how meaningful or meaningless it is.
Sort of in in the context of strictly a video game, or
Oh no, in the context of just general life and
Okay,
how
gotcha.
utterly fucked we are.
Ooh.
at every
Like,
moment
these are
is
both-
a choice.
I kind of felt like these are both very nihilistic games, but not in the I'm sad because nothing matters way, but nothing matters, isn't that cool kind of way.
Yeah, the nothing matters, but let's look at what we can make sense of in all this.
Yeah, like sort of like that. Like Stanley Parable has a lot of points made about how generally pointless the entire game is, or how pointless the idea of making a narrative game is, because the player doesn't play by the rules that the writer expects.
Yep.
And then starts making broader points about how little our choices actually matter in real life, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, although it makes a lot more dark humor jokes. Here it tries to suggest that we may not always be in control of our actions, but sometimes we are, and we need to actually be able to think on our choices in those cases.
Yeah, be cognizant of what we partake in.
And also, I'm trying to nail it down. Try to think about what our choices actually mean to those around us, and not just ourselves.
I think we're probably going to need to have like a counter at the end of this to see how many times we bring up Metal Gear Solid and Spec Ops and Nier. But
And
Oh, I haven't
Undertale.
even brought up Killer 7 yet.
oh god,
That game is the one. Killer 7 is the one game where every single time I'm at a place that has like used PS2 or GameCube games, I'm like, I need to look really quick. It's not going to be there because it never is. But
just
one
get
day
it.
it will
Just
be.
get it on GameCube instead. Much better. But
Either version's fine. It's probably one of my favorite games of all time. Like
Nice.
number 5, I think.
I want to play it because it's crazy Suda.
It's Suda before he was like, I want the ladies to bone me.
Suda.
Uh,
most
talk about
suitable.
Oh
Mood
my god,
Whiplash.
oh my god, guys. Suda 51 and Grant Morrison are the same person.
Oh my god.
They-
God.
Think about it. They both made very meta-aware media in their respective art forms. They're both probably wizards who practice witchcraft,
I
and they
believe it.
both eventually went crazy and started wanting people to fuck them.
Damn.
Yeah, like Grant Morrison actually wrote The Invisibles a certain way at one point because he was trying to cast an actual spell so more women would sleep with him.
What on earth?
Grant Morrison is wonderful.
I guess I've got some things I need to Google, I suppose.
Still.
Yeah, that's why
I've never heard any of this before.
Yeah, that's why he hates Alan Moore, because Alan Moore he fears that Alan Moore is a better wizard than him.
Oh my god.
Well,
Comics
that's
are
probably
wild.
not true, but that's why I suspect, because they're both wizards.
Well, still better than Mark.
No, like-
Damn.
Anyways, I think we've about hit the wall, unless you want to add anything, Elmo, because you
Oh, yeah.
really should speak
Oh.
more.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, even though we'd need a counter for all those other games we've mentioned, in every other game where they've tried to do that kind of, hey, you had the choice, you're the one who did these horrible things. At best, those ideas come across as kind of interesting to me, and at worst, it just comes across as like a lazy way out of saying, yeah, it's not our fault for making this game where you had to kill this guy to proceed, and that you had to kill him if you wanted to see past the intro screen. But Masochisia is
Oh, hang on, you just reminded me of a old Flash game I played like a decade ago, where the ending was like, we're some evil government agency or whatever, aka the game designer, who's in control of everything. Woo! God. Okay, go on.
I want to play this Flash game now.
It's terrible.
The Illuminati is actually just video games. Deus Ex was right.
Oh, I knew it.
Snow Crash was right.
Actually, Deus Ex kind of was right about a few things. That's the terrifying part.
I mentioned it on Twitter today, but I will endlessly keep trying to get people to play the first one.
The new one apparently sucks.
I've heard mixed things on the new one, but the one thing I keep hearing is that it drops so much. They mishandled the narrative and thematic elements of that game so badly.
AAA gaming at its best.
Yay. Yeah, Masochisia, definitely for any game that tries to pull that kind of moral, you did this, Masochisia probably does it the best out of any game I've played that does it. Mainly because Undertale would come close, but if you play Undertale and you do a genocide run, chances are you're doing it on purpose because you just want to fight Sans.
Because you just need to know.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I just remembered so many YouTube reviews of that I've seen from people I otherwise think are really good reviewers complaining about how boring the genocide run is, and then
missing the point.
They'll even admit that, yes, I understand that's the point, but why isn't it fun? I'm like, you just explained.
You enjoy the killing stake.
It's kind of amazing just how much so many different audiences for games don't want to understand these very obvious messages.
I was trying to play Sonic Heroes today, and I decided to play it using only my feet, and it turns out it was really boring and unfun. Get it together, Sega.
Come on, game designers, get it together.
What were they thinking?
Yeah,
I think my number one most hated terrible YouTube game criticism is, what the hell? The programming on this game is so bad. It's like, what does that even mean? I'm sorry, did you rip open the source code and can see why? It's like, okay, is the game glitchy? Are there bad clipping issues? Is the game poorly put together? Why is it poorly put together? Oh, just the programming's bad. Okay.
It was just regular programming, except he just punched it.
Yeah, it's not that the level design was bad or that these things were interacting in the wrong way. It was bad programming. Not to say things can't be badly programmed. Shit that crashes constantly is probably the definition of that, but...
Yeah, I think they probably hate Undertale because Toby Fox doesn't know how to program, apparently.
Something like that.
Yeah, he had hundreds of error messages in his code, and even commented it on Twitter at one point. He shared one about stupid dog or something.
Oh my god. Made a fantastic game, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't really look at games as just objective things, and I kind of understand where that comes from since so many are so mechanically focused, but we don't live in that era anymore of the early 1980s. We've changed. Even on the fucking NES, we were already experimenting with narrative games. Hell, we were probably already experimenting on a late Atari system.
Yeah. And it's don't get me wrong, I still love mechanically based games and all that, but, when people kind of look at things as a boxed product, and it's does it control well, does it shoot well, is there a difficulty curve, 9 out of 10, or whatever,
And I'm sure these people, some of their favorite games are Metal Gear Solid or Final Fantasy VII, which makes me wonder if they've actually played Metal Gear Solid or Final Fantasy VII.
There you go.
Yes.
I mean, the Metal Gear Solid just goes on and on and on about soldiers and nukes and memes and the internet and media.
Sorry to cut you off, but one that I found kind of weird recently, because I played this game and it was fucking great, which is the total opposite of this one in terms of violence, but Doom 2016. What I found really weird on that was a lot of people being like, it's just like old Doom. It plays just like old Doom. And I'm like, this game is fantastic, but plays nothing like old Doom. What are you talking about? The level design, the way you move, the way you... It's I'm not just talking about because it's a newer game, but mechanically the way you move around and orient yourself in space is a lot different than the way it was in Doom in terms of level design, enemy placement, and everything.
But there are health packs.
But there's health packs, and you run and shoot.
They both have Doom in the name.
They had to change a lot of that game to make it work in 2016. It was cool.
You were saying, Elmo?
They both have Doom in the name, so it's basically the same game. Basically.
They both have Doom Guy.
Basically. Yeah, exactly. To have the same character.
What
as
are
well.
some other games with Doom in the name?
Like,
Is there an
Doom,
Indiana Jones and the
Doom.
Temple of Doom kind of? Should be. One
Oh,
of
that's
those.
basically just Doom over
Yeah,
again.
just basically Doom.
You can even rip out someone's heart.
Yeah. And
What's
you know
the
that
point?
what's that old PC series like Dune with an N? That sounds pretty similar.
Oh,
So that's basically
That
the
was
same.
based on a book that got a movie that was bad.
Yeah, it's basically
I've been
Doom though.
meaning
Basically.
I've been meaning to read Dune at some point. For some reason, something keeps me away from it. But also, Dune 2, the game, actually is one of the progenitors to the RTS genre, which is kind of awesome.
Oh.
We just went on a massive tangent.
We did.
So,
That's
Masochisia.
okay.
But
It's the end of the episode. So
Oh wait, before we end, we do need to mention the ending of this game because it kind of.
Oh, right.
yeah.
We are missing one very important thing in Masochisia that we have not talked about yet.
Yep.
The fucking letters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
when you end this game, you go to the therapist office one last time, no matter what choice you make, and it questions you a bit more. And it seems like the game itself is talking to you, the player, and it's like, only I can decide when this ends. And then he snaps his fingers, and you're kicked back to the home screen. But then if you look at the bottom of your bar there, you can still see the game is still technically loaded. Like, what's that about? And then writing comes up
Yeah.
on your desktop.
That freaked me the fuck out. But what
And
also...
then the letters come up on your desktop in text files, and you can read them. And
Yep.
the character of the game talks to you and asks you about your choices.
Yep, it happens, I think, at the beginning of the game, at the end of Act 3, and then at the end of the game. My experience with that was one day I was just on my computer and everything, and suddenly saw a text file on my desktop that just said, "You should read me." And I immediately thought I'd gotten, like, a virus or something. I freaked the hell out.
Yeah, I when I was finished the game and I was talking about it on Twitter, then I noticed those 3 fucking files
Yeah.
on it and just screen capped it for everyone to see.
Yeah, but it's just a really cool... It comments on... It's definitely one of those, like, critiquing the player and commenting on the stuff. I've still got them all right here, but...
Oh, he was
it's
planning to go
really
even
cool.
farther with this.
I was going to mention that. I looked on the Steam page, and some of the stuff I'm definitely glad he didn't include,
What did he miss out?
because there was some stuff, like, one was if you had an internet connection playing the game, it could, like, track your IP to give you customized messages mentioning your area,
Oh boy.
which is, like, that's kind of invasive.
Yeah.
Or other ones would, like, keep the game running invisible in the background and, like, pop up message. That one would be kind of cool, but at the same time it'd be like, okay, fuck off, not now. You got me. It's a video game. I think he hit the right curve with that, where there's enough of that sort of postmodern, out of the game craziness, but not to a point where it gets, like, invasive or terrifying. I think he made the right call in cutting out what he did.
I really love
I would
that.
definitely put John Oldblood with like Will O'Neill, Vagabond Dogs, and Christine Love is one of my favorite indie designers now, because this game is just so fresh and creative and also really brilliant in what it's trying to say. I just want to see what he does from here.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to see, like, what other different projects and stuff, like, maybe in, like, a whole different... I don't know, he should clearly do what he wants, but, like, see what other genres, subject matter, or whatever he can tackle.
Or he can be like Will O'Neill and just after making a game about depression, make another game about depression.
There you
Yeah,
go.
he's making one about
Which was
a
Will
failing
O'Neill?
economy.
Which was Will O'Neill again?
Actual Sunlight.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, that's basically about how I feel about this game. It's fantastic. You should play it unless you just can't deal with the subject matter, which I fully understand. The guy who
Yep.
made this fully understands.
Yep, and God bless that he does understand. It's like, there are warnings all over the Steam page. There's a warning before you start the game and everything, so I think people know whether or not this is something they could, like, handle and everything. I definitely want to say, like, this would get, like, an R rating and everything
Oh, yeah.
if you were to play it, and it deals with very sensitive matters of, like, not just violence, but also child abuse and other such things.
If this
So-
game was
Meanwhile,
better
the
known,
gu-
it would probably there would probably be like petitions from concerned parents to ban
Yeah,
it.
if this was the 1990s and this came out, this would be like the most controversial game ever, or whatever.
It'd probably be compared to that Super Columbine RPG, except that was actual exploitative trash.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, great game. Highly recommend it. I'm glad I finally got more people to play this damn thing because it's a hard sell.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah!
Every-
I'm definitely
every-
I'm definitely glad you suggested it because I was not expecting what we got out of this.
I can sell VA 11 just by posting screen caps of all the things the characters say. Have you ever faked an orgasm?
Oh, Valhalla's got hilarious fucking dialogue.
Yeah, but like this is something you just have to play to understand, and God, it's good.
Yeah.
So, what we'll do at the end of every episode of this series is have one of us decide what game we play next. And I'm thinking on the 4th we'll all suggest one and sample it a bit or like finish it up and do a episode going over it, like shorter games or stuff like that. Or ones that are more simplistic. But for now, I'm just going to let Lamar pick the next game and hope it's a good one.
All right. I hope so too. This is actually on your wish list, so this will be convenient. The game is Shrouded in Sanity.
Damn it, I don't own it yet.
Damn.
Like, I would have considered it kind of like
I
a bingo
found out
if I had it already.
Gotcha. I found out about this from Super Bunny Hop's Games from My Inbox. It is basically a indie pixelated demake of sort of like Soulsborne style games.
Oh, crap.
But also, looking at the hour time, doesn't look like it's as hard as those. Don't worry. I have looked into this. I don't think it will be like undoable. If not, we can figure something else out.
Hang on, the idea of the Souls-like game kind of makes me go, oh no, are we really doing this again?
It's like Dark Souls, but don't worry, this one's like Bloodborne.
I'm looking up the Steam page, and oh yeah, I think I remember putting this on my list out of curiosity.
Yep.
Because I didn't look very hard at it, because I never do.
Well, we will see.
Oh yeah, because the description doesn't make it sound like it's like Dark Souls. It makes it sound like something way more interesting. Then I'm reading it again, and it's sort of like Dark Souls or Bloodborne, and I'm like, oh.
I don't know. Looking at the gameplay mechanics and how it's all laid out, it definitely looks like it may be drawing influence from those games, but definitely not trying to do like a straight copy.
Well, we're definitely going to remember it, so we'll meet again in a month or so. It depends on how well we can get this together.
True.
And we'll give our thoughts on Shrouded in Sanity. Oh, I just got the pun.
There it is. I hope this doesn't turn into like just horror games on this show.
Now, let's I want Elmo to pick like something like Punch Club or something for his turn.
I'll pick a lesser known game like Roller Coaster Tycoon.
There we go.
I was playing
Never heard of it.
before and after Masochisia. I was playing Roller Coaster Tycoon, and I think it
And
kind of
sending people flying on roller coasters into a pit of fire.
I think it really helped
Yeah, let's-
Masochisia stand out. That I was like, I mean, I love Roller Coaster Tycoon, but it's a kind of a dumb, very simple game. And then like,
It's a nice palate
roller
cleanser
coasters,
after
child
God.
abuse. Roller coasters.
Let's go back to roller coasters
Yeah.
for a bit. That was nice and happy.
So, right, we'll all see you again in a month. And let's see, do we have any closing lines?
Video games.